This was me just hours after surgery. I remember feeling so many emotions: relief, fear, hope, all wrapped up in one. My twin sister was right by my side. I had my best friend there. So I knew I wasn't going through this alone, and it made all the difference. Hey everyone, my name is Tatiana and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, hi. Today we're gonna get into a topic that is becoming more and more common each day. The more that I'm reading and learning and unlearning, I'm realizing how big of a topic this is, and that is the conversation around fibroids. Now for many, like myself, this is a deeply personal journey. And I had unfortunately been diagnosed with uterine fibroids back in, 2021, I believe. And ever since, I've been on the journey just trying to figure it all out. So as I mentioned, I was diagnosed a few years ago. And if you don't know what uterine fibroids are, they're non-cancerous tumors that you find in the uterus, and they can cause a lot of complications like heavy bleeding, irregular period cycles, so many things, right? And this really affects a majority of women. It's said to be 70% of women are going to experience fibroids in their lifetime, and that's unique to African American and Black women. So that says a lot right there. Me in particular, I knew something was wrong when I started experiencing immense pain during my cycles. And you know, growing up we're taught like, oh, that's normal, you're gonna have some pain in your abdomen and like all that stuff, right? But it should never, periods should not be painful. Cycles should not be so drawn out. They shouldn't last for days. They shouldn't be extremely heavy. Those are things that we were taught that were normalized, and they're just not. And so with that, it came a lot of emotional stress. It started to affect my day-to-day living, and I was having a conversation briefly one afternoon during a family group chat, and it wasn't until that moment that my sister said, you know, hey Tati, maybe you might want to go to your gynecologist and see what it's about. I think you might be suffering from fibroids. That was the first time I had even heard the term fibroids, believe it or not. And you know what's the most disappointing is that a lot of the women in my family actually had this diagnosis, but it took me experiencing it and everyone was just suffering in silence. And I just really hate that for us. I hated that, you know, it took me going through what I was going through to kind of push my other family members to also get checked. But I also think it's a blessing in disguise, because it usually takes one of us to really take something serious. So that's why I'm creating this video, is so that you're not feeling alone. If you're going through this yourself, if you don't have anyone to talk to, I feel like this video would be very helpful. So let's get into how I overcame my fibroids. I'm down because I have a couple notes here just so I make sure I don't miss anything. Now, one of the things that I think is really important in the beginning stages of getting any diagnosis is educating yourself, right? So during this process, I had to educate myself and unlearn and learn new things that I didn't know about my body. So I started researching fibroids, their causes, and how they, you know, linked to my hormones, because a lot of this is hormonal health, right? And I think that's a topic in itself that's been like it's a big buzzword. It's something that people keep mentioning, hormone health, but we're not really breaking down how it's linked to fibroids, right? So getting more specific about estrogen, understanding these terminologies, really knowing what is truly important is what's going to help you get to the next step of what you need to do to help yourself, right? So knowledge truly is power. And so I would say that took me into the next step. So after I had my appointment with my gynecologist, he pretty much instructed me that diet was going to be a big shift in this process. Before we considered alternative options like surgery, we decided let's just go on a plant-based, plant-forward lifestyle and see where the growth takes itself, right? So everyone has different sizes in their fibroids, the tumors, and so based on that is where your doctor's going to advise you on what to do. So always talk to a professional. I'm just telling you what I did and what helped me. And so as I mentioned, diet changes is a big one. So I had to eliminate most inflammatory foods, and so that could be like processed sugars or dairy as much as possible. That was something I loved. I love cheese, I love this, I love that, right? But it's an inflammatory food, so really shifting your diet is really hard, because at least for me, going cold turkey, that was like a little intense. So I ended up hiring a health coach who walked me through transitioning out of certain food groups, and that helped a ton. So there's a lot of information out there, guys. Do your research, figure out what works for you, and take it one step at a time. This is a journey. It's not gonna happen overnight. Alrighty, and then the second step that I took into consideration was stress management. Now, I know you're wondering, how do I manage stress, right? That was a question I had to ask myself and really sit and think about it. I remember my doctor telling me, Tatiana, try not to stress out as much as possible. And I'm like, doc, that's easier said than done. I'm a Black woman living in America. Stress is something that is a part of my day-to-day. Now, with that being said, I had to really learn how to pull back and not let things get to me so easily. Picking and choosing my battles, right? You hear that all the time. It was really, truly a shift that I had to make. It's like knowing when something is worth my time, and also knowing when to walk away from certain situations to help me with my hormones, essentially. Obviously, a big one, we always hear about it, exercise, exercise, exercise. And it is true, guys. Exercise does help with your hormone balance. Now, what exercise is really what's going to be crucial. You don't want to do any exercises that are going to boost cortisol levels and cause you to be more imbalanced, essentially. So thinking about what that low impact exercise is for you, I think is going to go a long way. Now, like I said, I worked closely with my gynecologist, my doctor, and an integrative health coach. So this was something that I had resources to, and you can too if it's something that you are willing to look into. But I just want to say, no matter who you're talking to, it's important to advocate for yourself, to know how to ask all the questions. And there's no wrong question, but getting specific about what it is you're looking to understand. That is their job. That is part of their roles, is to help best educate you. But you coming in to the situation knowing what you want to ask, I think that gives a lot of people agency and autonomy. And it might not work for everyone, but that's something that I felt really good about leaving every appointment or every conversation, is kind of taking matters into my own hands, and I encourage you to do the same. I do want to preface this by saying, in the end, I did end up getting a myomectomy surgery. It just took time for me to educate myself about my body, to do as much work as I could, right, to help lessen the chances of them growing larger, which I did do, but in the end, they still stayed, and I just thought that the best decision for me was to go ahead and move forward with a myomectomy. Now, there's two options for surgery, and we could talk about that in another video, and how I went through my fibroid surgery. Guys, let me know if you want me to talk through going through my procedure, what I did to prepare for my procedure, and the things that I bought and did not buy. I think that is a really helpful tool for anyone, so let me know if you guys want to see that in another video. I say that to say, if you're going through this, please know that you are not alone. Like, I think during the journey of the 2 years I took on my own time to really learn my body, my hormones, and to get my body in check to prepare for surgery was really, really crucial. And so I just want to be a friend along the journey if you're in this stage of your chapter. And yeah, that's the video, guys. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking about, or have you had a diagnosis? I'm here for you, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.